I'm Megan Hamilton, and this is the Embracing Enchantment podcast. I am so excited about today's guest as I have been doing a spell from her book, Spells for Success. She's also the author of the poetry collection, We Are Now the Thing in the Woods and Dark Way Down. She has a newsletter called Do You Want to Do Some Witchcraft? Please welcome Lauren Parker to the podcast. Hi, Lauren.
Hi, Megan. Thanks so much for having me.
I'm so glad to have you. Hilariously, Lauren and I were just dealing with some really ridiculous tech issues. And I kept thinking to myself, maybe this is the last of the weird things from eclipse season.
Yeah,
'Cause
maybe.
holy moly.
I would love
Was
that. Please, knock wood.
Oh my God. Please, 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 for sure.
I think the newest bonding rituals we all go through now as like kind of a very digitally connected society is like the muted curse words we scream at our internet connections and our technology. These are our new sacred texts. These are our new sacred chants.
Yeah, we didn't realize it was going to look like this one day, but here we are.
Here we are.
I also think it's interesting because the effort sometimes it takes to be able to ensure that we can communicate properly. The thing about tech is you either get it or you don't,
Yeah.
as opposed to, non-tech human interactions where you may never get it.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, so one thing that we like to do on the podcast is pull a tarot card and have it sort of set a tone or build a mood or whatever. And I'm wondering while I'm shuffling, there's a curious sentence in your bio that I have really wanted to know where it comes from. So one of the sentences in your bio is fourth generation female breadwinner descended from male charlatans and thus has grown up to become a very educated liar. Would you tell us a little bit more about that sentence, please?
I mean, I think it's a fairly, and as somebody who's very American, I think it's a fairly American experience to have a certain degree of shyster kind of in your DNA at some point, one way or the other. And the men in my family there's a lot of horse thieves and horse traders and
No.
entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship.
Right.
And then a lot of things that I sort of like deeply suspect, and all of them were very good storytellers, and all of them were very, very charming and funny. And then I come from just incredibly genius women who are brilliant and are usually holding everything down. And I think those two powers combined have made me the storyteller that I am, and also I think given me an incredible amount of appreciation for what is considered the overlooked work of keeping everything together, because the
Yeah.
charlatans are so entertaining. It's so easy to give them credit, and it's so difficult to give the people behind them the credit. But you end up really good at spinning a yarn.
Right. And even building a profession out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess that's the card, but also in the oh, that's so okay. Sorry. 7 things are happening at once. So let's give me a minute to rein it all in. Let me pick up the card first. And before I show it, do you know that I have a song? Do you know I'm a musician?
I didn't know you were a musician. Oh my gosh.
Okay. And I have a song called Horse Thief Bay Road. And I'm like, horse thieves? What? Isn't this world a funny place? That is an actual name of a road close to where I live along the Thousand Island Parkway. So, wow, interesting. Okay. We got the Nine of Pentacles, which I do not hate. Speaking of badass women doing it for themselves, wow. Oh, whenever I get this, there's the universal ways that we can look at cards, and even then there's so many of those, but then there's kind of your personal connection to cards. And for me, the Nine of Pentacles is often a little nudge from the universe, like everything's going to be okay. You're on the right path. There's enough abundance for everyone. Just keep going. Keep working with the fear that you have, represented by the falcon, who is the, whatever bird of prey who has the helmet on. Keep moving in the direction towards the bigger goals and dreams that you have as lofty as they might be, because the journey is truly the way forward, and the abundance and magic of aliveness that we receive just from being on the journey alone is what gives us that richness of life that can be represented in things like, the grapes and the pentacles, which can sometimes represent coins, but also just we're going towards a feeling. When we get hung up on the specifics of it, like, for example, money, that's when things can start to go a little bit awry. And again, it's not it's not money. It's just the fixation on money that is the problem. And then my favorite part of this card, which is the little snail, which reminds us that our body is our home, right? And so with pentacles, we think of the earth, obviously, but also our bodies and behavior. And so taking care of our bodies is really one of the ways forward to this feeling of abundance and independence, and doing it for ourselves. So Lauren also reads tarot, and I asked them
Mhm.
if they would give us their take.
Yeah, I love the 9 of Pentacles in particular. So I love this one because it doesn't it's still movement. So she's standing, but you can tell from the flow of the dress that there's a movement forward. But it gets to be more of a luxuriating in the experience of the journey, because there's sort of enough fortitude that has happened for you to be able to kind of really enjoy and be present in your abundance, which is always just a lovely place to be reminded to be, because it has this tone of gratitude. Now let's talk about grapes. As somebody who lives in California, grapes go through absolute hell to get to the point where they can be used for wine. Like that they are in an absolutely torturous environment. And so it is about kind of acknowledging in my mind, acknowledging kind of all of the past tortures to get to this beautiful like space. And so if you're getting this card, it can be kind of a reminder not only to be present, but to remember who you are and like how you have gotten here and what this is and how to be generous within it. Like you see the woman figure, unlike the 4 of Pentacles where there's like holding the money in. This is rather it's bounty around her and she is looking and admiring other things. And I think that it is important to remember to be kind of like speaking to the generosity and gratitude of the card. And I also like that she's alone. It's not a marriage card necessarily. It's a person really kind of doing a lot of self-ownership and self-gratitude and self-generosity, which I think is really great.
Hell yeah. I love that take. I love that extra emphasis on the grapes too. It reminds me of the salamanders, and, in the wands where you,
Mhm.
like, when you do a deep dive into salamanders, they are one of the only creatures that can walk through fire and come out on the other
Absolutely.
side unscathed. Love that take. Thank you for that. And speaking of abundance, Lauren is the author of this incredible, beautiful. I had a literal gasp when I opened it up. Lauren graciously sent this to me, and I didn't realize when I got it that it is like a book that is a deck.
It is a deck,
And
yeah.
so for those of us who are, and head to the YouTube channel if you want to see what's going on. But if you don't want to, I'll just tell you that these are, I mean, it is beautiful, very tactile cards as the book. And so you can pick a page up, right? And you can hold it. It's very, and they're, like I said, they're beautiful, and you can read it, and then you can either put it at the back of the deck, or you can, as I did, put it in a different section. And I will say, I read through the whole thing in one sitting. I was enjoying it so much. And let me tell you, sorry, I'm doing all the talking, but let me tell you also that I am currently making rose oil. And over here, I thought, okay, well, what better thing to do than try one of these spells before chatting with Lauren to talk about the spell? And I'm doing the Love Yourself moon spell. I know.
So glad.
And I started it because the instructions say to start it on a new moon. So I started it as we do in the middle of that flippin' bananas.
Bold move on your part.
You know, well, I'm thinking I did a lot during this eclipse season. I totally rebranded my business, changed the name. Like I was here for it. So
Are you having like a nodal return or of some kind? Like, what are you doing?
what am I
Where
doing?
is it hitting?
I I last year was really difficult for me on a personal level, and this year I'm listening more to the messages that are coming to me and acting on them with more surrender.
What's that? Yeah, absolutely.
So so that's the long and short of it. I mean, there's obviously a lot more about that, but and so far it has been really powerful stuff. idea of just surrendering. But I'm wondering if we can just go back to the beginning of this gorgeous book. What sparked it for you? Where did the idea for this come from?
So a very dear friend of mine, Diana Helmuth, wrote The Witching Year, which is a great memoir about how she tries to become a witch for a year. And I was one of her mentors. So was kind of with her on that journey. And it was interesting to kind of see somebody so in the beginning of like kind of their, she's got a context as like a hippie. She's got, of course, this relationship to the moon. But when it came to kind of like the really learning about like what a witch is and what a witch does and those things meant to her, it was interesting to kind of see somebody so in the beginning emotions of all of that, of the embarrassment, of the stress, of the desperation, of the desire, all of those things. And it made it really clear to me that additional coaching outside of, I think, a traditional, what we would conceptualize as a Wiccan framework, was
Mhm,
really, really necessary. Because of course,
mhm,
like when I was into witchcraft between two times it was cool, Wicca was it was a regionally it was the thing you could find in my region. And then it was a lot of the Borders, RIP, $5 book end caps that were doing it along. And so it's like you had astrology, you had tarot, you had Wicca, and that was it. And if you're not necessarily a faith-bound practitioner, if you're not somebody that's necessarily tied to working with a pantheon, but is in fact maybe tied in more to animism or just sort of kind of these more broad executions of what kind of faith or belief is, it can be kind of alienating to then be asked to engage with kind of a cultural pantheon that you might not have a tie to.
right.
And
Yep.
I think about that a lot, especially as an American, where a lot of my kind of cultural and kind of spiritual practices don't happen until my family hits Ellis Island. What America and the transformation of America has done to my cultures as they existed is so crucial to what makes my practice what it is. Because America has changed me. And I think it's an important thing, especially as with somebody with European ancestry living in a colonized state, to really start to use that as a means to try to dismantle the internal colony,
Mhm.
and to like acknowledge both the pain and harm that is associated with those things, and then also have fun with it because
Yeah, right.
you're still supposed to
Both.
engage with like the pleasure and joy and the connection of community and casting and service. And so was in kind of that mentorship process as I was watching my friend, and she narrates this very beautifully in the book, fall apart. And I was like, oh, maybe we need some things. And so that's kind of what the deck came out of. I really kind of sat with what are all kind of the major issues that we're all dealing with as people. And it's like, I've been lovelorn. I've been ill. People I loved have been ill. I've been broke. I've needed to like pull a miracle out of a hat. And had no idea what I was doing. And all of those things kind of came together into this kind of the four like big major tenets of the deck. Is it's like you've got stuff about money and career, including all the way down to unionizing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hardcore on that.
Yep.
You've got love, both self-love and external love, and then also cutting love off. There's also creativity spells and spells for change and things that you can kind of do of service for other people. And then also just sort of cursory stuff about like how do you build your own magical toolkit? What's your magical hygiene? What is your relationship to a lot of the kind of memeified broader thought around, what spirituality and connection is, like say things like the law of attraction and stuff like that. So I really kind of got to through this process with Diana really kind of sit in that and work in that. And when they asked me what kind of art I wanted, all I could send them was the backs of playing cards because I'm a big playing card worker. Again, is it somebody descended from charlatans? Lots of betting going on. I think it came out beautiful, and there's actually different backs on different sections of cards.
They're absolutely beautiful. I mean, they're stunning. And for the keen observer, as you're talking through, and I don't think I realized this until just now, they represent the four directions and the four suits in
They do.
tarot, right? You've got even the colors. We've got our
Mhm.
green for sort of money and career spells. We've got our
Mhm.
pink for the love spells, which are hearts. We have our yellow for the wand spells, which are energy, spirit.
Mhm.
And then we have orange for air, which is swords. And that's when we
Mhm.
sort of get to the strategy and the logistics and the brain stuff,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And what I really loved about this as well is It is very difficult, and you're a poet, so you know this. I got interested in haiku years ago and tried to develop this major art project that didn't ultimately get the funding, but what it did do was really help me navigate towards the idea. And those people who know me would be like, yeah, but you don't do this, of condensing something to its core, to its kernel, right? Alchemizing
Mm.
something to its absolute core element. And so what I love about this, even just that the title is Spells for Success, I mean, we get it, right? Like,
Yeah.
like that lets us know immediately what we're looking at. And I'm just going to read, if it's okay with you, some of the spell titles because so work-life balance spell. I need a new career spell. Let's keep going here. Like love drawing bath spell, breakup spell, good sleep spell, healthy family spell, keep it together spell, good appearances jewelry spell. Like, if there's not at least one thing in here for every single person, then I don't know what. But I would imagine, I looked at everyone and thought, yeah, I can imagine a time, not necessarily that it's right now, but certainly in my life when I absolutely could have used this, and the intention behind it and the idea, because I believe very much that ritual is often just about practice, embodying, and intention, because we can go through life very easily, right? Like, hello, just scrolling along and being like, I don't even know what I want because I haven't thought about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I find that that was a huge, like, and it's kind of a no duh thing, but I felt the key unlock the door the day that I'm like, you don't actually, like, is the key. Like,
Yes.
it really is kind of a muscle memory thing of, like, being, like, and it's like, even if your intention is shaky or, like, your concentration is shaky, getting in the habit of seeking out these particular practices and just sort of doing them, is, and it doesn't have to be every day. I know that, like, we do this, right? This is our design for everything. "Oh, you wanna be healthy? Here's
Perfectionism.
your,
Yeah.
40-minute a day workout routine." Like, it's just, we are all doing our best, or at least what we believe our best to be. So I tend to have like more of a calendar effect. So I do playing card and rune meditations on the new and full moon. And that was a big part of like kind of teaching myself my relationship to the cards and all those things. But that was just sort of like that's like every couple weeks. And that like just that repetition and consistency makes that all much more natural and easier for me to conjure in myself as far as like my intention and my concentration. So my overall spell work has just sort of gotten more tangible as a result. And while I do think that like, casting from places of big strong emotion is like great. When you are like casting on behalf of other people, or if you are kind of just trying to do your day to day, you're not going to necessarily have that big strong an emotion to pull from in that power. But it's still good to kind of be in the practice of it, even if it
Yes.
feels like kind of like you're not even really sure if you're kind of meandering through it, but you're still doing the work. And that's, I think, a really important thing. And once I gave myself the permission to not have like sparks raining down and the ultimate like cosmic experience, and just kind of like got to like entrench myself in the magic of the day to day, it's just been so liberating for me.
Man, sorry, I don't know if I have lipstick on my teeth, but I'm just doing a little thing just in case. Do I ever relate to that? So for those who, just because it's a little open tab in my mind. For those who don't know, casting is literally just doing a spell, right? And if you've never, done a spell in the sort of, what the sense is that you might think it is, if you have ever said a prayer, if you have ever made a wish, if you have ever, it's an intentional direction and to, whatever is out there, or even sometimes to yourself. And what I love about magic in general and practicing spiritual practices and different modalities is the intention behind it. It is sitting down and saying, I am going to think about this right now, and then I am going to do something that will either, in the case of the Love Yourself moon spell, which is where you do something every day for a moon cycle. And I'll show you my stone in a second, but you're creating action items around it that you are going to perform, that you're going to take. And so let me just show you. So with this Love Yourself moon spell, I chose this really beautiful smoky quartz
Yeah, I
that,
was gonna say it looks like a smoky.
yeah, but it's got like a beautiful kind of a purple quality to it every once in a while. And
Yeah.
amethyst is kind of my favorite in general. But my friend Casey gave this to me, and I just knew right away that this was the stone to use, right? Which is sometimes you develop your relationship with. I have
Totally.
a lot of stones in my office. You just develop that kind of relationship. And it is, we were talking about this before, this idea of all or nothing or perfectionism. And the reason we develop practices is not just to have a mind body connection or a body spirit connection, it's also just to train ourselves to be intentional. And so every morning when I sit down to journal and pull a few cards, well, that okay, I'm sitting down to do my thing. And this is a, I feel, well-earned feeling I've got from the 6 or 7 plus years now that I've been doing this practice. But it's the same with, so in my other job, I'm a speaking coach. And one of the things I say to folks is just practice controlled breathing for 2 minutes every single day.
Yeah.
And then when you really need it and you go to practice it, your body knows exactly what you're doing. And it goes out of that sort of heightened, activated state easily back into, okay, I'm not in danger. I'm good to go. And the only way you get to that is by just doing it over and over again, by practicing.
Yeah, I think so. I'm sure every generation has said this about like the State of the Union, but we are in an instantaneous culture. One, not only is it that we need dopamine kind of instantaneously, and attention is the most important thing that you have. So like your time and your focus is such an incredible commodity to like the corporate America that like it wants to deny that of you. So for you to just even just devote that is huge. That's already like a real kind of like rebellious act. And so I think that that's important to kind of keep in mind because we're all kind of like waiting to be picked. That's kind of like what this is. A lot of the setup of things is it's like I want to be selected and chosen and have this bestowed upon me, this incredible power or whatever. And like it's really kind of more like abs, unfortunately.
Like abs?
Like doing ab workouts, like they just kind of build over time.
I love
So you're
it.
not just like one
That's
day
such a
like
good
very good at
metaphor.
abs. And so, devoting your time and like when we talk about intention, I think start with attention. And
Yeah.
then intention will kind of develop for you over time is like your relationship to that word. But it's about being confident within it because we really do tell everybody that if you're going to do anything, you have to be amazing at it from the jump or else it's mortifying. And
Mhm.
mortification is something that we're all very, very sensitive to right now and like probably always have been. But we're all much more on a national scale. Like social media is not about connecting with your friends, it's about entertainment. That's why, like, you know, FYPs and things like that mostly are not your friends. It's mostly kind of
Yeah.
like these algorithmic feeds of like it's your new TV. So now you're making TV
Yeah.
and engaging in this particularly like parasocial way. And so to really kind of exist within yourself in a way that's not parasocial is so important and it's just I think something that none of us like think about until we think about it. Until we've got like a kind of a problem in our lives. And so the things that feel small or like unimportant or insignificant are still really, 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 really crucial to your magical practice because you're just taking yourself back. You're allowing yourself to like kind of love yourself.
That's what it is, right? Yeah, exactly. It's loving yourself, it's intention, it's building trust, uh, letting go.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
noticing.
going through so I was just visiting my parents in New Hampshire, and if you have parents with an attic, it's full of your stuff. And so every time you go in and I unpack a box and then I mark all the things that probably should be gotten rid of. But I found like the first poetry chapbook I put together. I was probably 17, and it was like all the poems that I had written from like 14 to 17, of which there were a lot, and some were
Yeah,
good and
it's
some were
prime
bad.
time for writing poems.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All of your feelings so big.
So big.
And And there's always kind of this question that goes around, it usually circulates on social media of like, would 16-year-old you like you now? And like, one, I did not ask her. I'm trying to like me now at my age. But I think a better question might kind of be like, would it be possible for you to like your past self? Because
100%.
that's the person that needs it.
Yeah.
16-year-old you
Yes.
needs the love because
Mhm.
that's what you're still mourning.
Yep.
And it's
Totally.
so excruciating. So I actually put this up on TikTok. I read one of my poems that I wrote when I was 14 years old about what I really wanted my life to look like. And it was clammy and it was sweaty and I wanted to kind of die a little bit the whole time. But it's like okay to think that like the vulnerability of your youth was actually really cool.
Yes,
It's
and
really cool
necessary
actually.
to
And to
being who
try to
you are
carry
now.
that into your future present self now. If it's like, how do I access that vulnerability in a way that's not only like healthy for me as an adult, but also for others so that they get to better understand me, but we both are kind of attaching in healthy ways. And so like
Love
that's
that.
that's the shadow work I'm doing right now. Is trying to love my cringiest bits and cringiest selves.
Yeah, and for me, I practice shadow work. I have a workbook that I use with clients. It's a huge part of my practice. It was once I tapped into how important shadow work was for speaking and visibility,
Yeah.
like, and it is almost always traceable. Any situation that you're dealing with where you're like, "Why do I keep doing this?
Mhm.
Why can I not stop this behavior? Why do I feel so yucky around this particular topic?" X, whatever. It can almost always be traced back to a time when your brain was still developing and you came up with a solution in the moment that worked. And then your body's like, cool, that's what we do for this situation.
Good
And
enough.
30 years later, you're just like, what, and the forgiveness, because I've said this before, I am not as mean to anybody as I am to past me, to past versions
Mhm.
of myself. I will blame everything, choices that I made
Should have been
whenever.
smarter, should have been wiser. Why did you do that? That's so embarrassing. Like,
Totally.
especially living the femme experience.
Mm,
And the
yeah.
world is
Yes.
so eager to
Yeah.
hand you that, to
Yeah.
hand you this incredible personal responsibility for anything bad that's ever happened to you, just
Yeah. Or to
in
or to
wild ways.
or to everybody else, right?
Yeah.
And that idea of both loving and forgiving yourself for doing what you had to do in any particular moment is truly what has been a form of liberation for me. Allowing myself to really take that deep dive into who I am and the I am the consequence and the result of all of the different parts of me that have existed. And therefore, I better love them or else I can't love current me because I am I am also that 14-year-old girl. I am also that 25-year-old woman. I am also that, I don't know, 45-year-old, whatever the case.
You're your own ancestor at the end of the day.
Oh, I
All those
love
past selves
that.
got you there.
Yeah, that's a great one. You're coming up with some bangers today. It's a good thing
Thank
we're
you.
recording this. Uh,
Again, very good at talking.
yeah, exactly. Thank your ancestors for that good stuff. Okay, so with that in mind, do you have a favorite spell from the book, and what stuff are you doing right now to keep it together?
Yeah, okay, so that's a great point, because there's a lot to keep together.
Sure
Boy, just
is.
all these
Yes.
marbles all over the floor.
My goodness.
So the one that I actually had the most anxiety about, I think, has ended up the one that's my favorite because I wasn't sure if everybody was gonna get it.
Okay.
And that's always it, right? Like that's the stretch goal that you kind of do for yourself. And mine was definitely kind of the creativity spell with the kite. And because I'm a big maker, so a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people, like, I think when they think of people that are practicing in their day-to-day life, that we're doing a coven meeting and we've got like the circle together and everything is very serious. And I'm not much of like a necessarily a chanter in those ways. Like, there's a lot of people that have a lot of different methods of practice and they're all really, really beautiful. But like, you're not doing all of them. You're doing the thing that's the most you, and the thing that's the most me is I'm tinkering at stuff. We're putting stuff together. I'm writing, I'm making jewelry, sometimes I'm making jams or things like I'm just sort of always kind of in this Taurus moon. I'm in an abundance phase. So, I'm always just kind of like making stuff and then giving it away so that it gets out of your house because that's how that works.
Right. Do you
And
have any
so
Virgo in your
for exactly, Virgo South Node.
Okay, well, there you go.
Virgo South Node.
Mhm.
You saw it, you spotted it right away. But a big part of that was I'm like, making art is the most like important thing in my life. And making good art is great. I love making good art, and I believe I have made good art. But making interesting art is actually good enough. And that's like one of the biggest like things that I've done. I'm like, it doesn't have to be good. It just has to be interesting. And it either has to be interesting to make or look at. And so for me and kind of the kite making, all of that is really about kind of like expressing that desire to at least be interesting or be interested and allowing that to kind of permeate out. And I was just like, I don't know if everybody's going to get it. I don't know if they're going to feel like it's spelly enough because we've got like a real idea of what spells are like. I'm like, is everybody going to like understand what the goal is? And yet it's the one that people kind of really remember because it stands out. Because I think a lot of
Mhm.
people hadn't thought about that as both a need and then also as a solution.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I don't know about this when I made it. And I think it was one of the last spells that I wrote for the deck. But yeah, I think that's the one that I've been liking the most. The keeping it together spell and keeping it together practices in general. I have been doing a lot with my coffee every morning.
Okay.
I've been doing a lot of soothing syrups that and a lot of putting it on like sigil plates and things like that to try to like to do good. I have been doing a lot of amping myself up and checking in on my reactions to things, like my responses to people, and also considering, the state of the union.
Mhm.
I know that it is so crucial now in ways that I've kind of rested on my laurels, if I'm being honest, to be reaching out with and engaging with my people. And that means a lot of things. It's not
Mhm.
just the people that I agree with, although and
Mhm.
it's not just the people that I have a deep relationship with, although, I've gotten more consistent with that too. It means a lot more of the breaking the door down to show up kind of thing. But also, I've just been talking to my neighbors more. I've been more friendly. I've been more open. I've been more willing to stop and talk to people for like, 30 seconds and just kind of be around and be a friendlier face or like a more consistent presence in my greater community because I know that that's going to be really, really key and continues to be. And that might at some point get harder and harder to do.
Or easier and easier because you're being intentional about it.
True. That's very true. As far as a systemic ease is what I really mean, is that will be harder to do from the system standpoint, but will hopefully be combated a lot more with the natural flow of magic. Because the thing is that magic is it's a little lazy. It wants to take the path of least resistance, don't we all?
Yeah, and
So
often
I'm
I
like,
do,
so
and
start
I'm like,
start
"This is."
carving that path now.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Build that muscle, exactly. I I literally just said something, similar to this morning on social media where I was talking about today's a great day to write a letter to your elected officials, and then I put at the bottom for a little treat because I think one of the things we have to start grappling with is why are certain fascist groups able to come together so easily with only one point of connection, whereas the rest of us who might, as my friend Erica said, you can have ten items and you can agree on 9 of them. And if the one is something that people can't agree on, there's no connection. The thing doesn't happen. There's no place to work from. There's this idea of perfectionism. Anyways, we could probably have a huge conversation about
That
this.
yeah, I'm like, if you open this box, we'll be here all day, which
Yeah,
I'm down for,
yeah.
but
But we're here to talk about spells. However, it is that thing of regulating yourself
it's really hard
because
because even if
it's
you're present with
it's
your emotions, you still have
really
them.
hard. Yeah.
Like, it's not like they scamper off once you give them a name.
Yeah. No,
They're still
exactly.
there
And if you are justice oriented, there's a lot of injustice. There's a lot of stuff to get angry
forever.
about. And if you want the message to land, you have to deliver it in a place where it can be received. I can't listen to people yelling at me and listen to what they're saying and be like, you know what? I'm going to give this some serious thought. My defenses go up and I'm like, stop yelling at me. Like, I just want to get out of the situation. Anyways, so I love the idea that you are building connection. You are actively and, assuming not necessarily diving into politics, but instead just building community and finding the points of intersection Because that is what I think we have kind of lost in the last however long and need to start bringing back is our ability to talk to each other even when we disagree. And there's so many things to disagree about.
Think this is also, I think, my challenge a little bit is that I think we're only coming together to have conversations anymore. We're only kind of coming together to evangelize. And I'm like,
Uh,
we should be like,
Hanging
we don't
out.
have like block parties the way we used to. We should be like
Mm,
eating around each other.
my neighborhood does, but yes, I know
Cool,
what you
that's
mean. Yeah,
great.
it
But it's
is
like,
really cool.
there's like this degree of like the suburbification of kind of our culture where it's like, this idea that like every single person is in their own personal gated community. And like
Uh-huh.
that's it. And if you don't fit in my gated community as I've like kind of designed it, now it's a matter of convincing you to be the kind of person that I could put in my gated community.
100%.
And
Yes.
like I think there's a lot of ways to be very adamant about what you will accept from other people. And I am not saying that you need to build coalition with everybody,
Uh-huh.
but we do need to bring back the appreciation of the acquaintance
Uh-huh.
and know that this is not a person that you need necessarily to be more than an acquaintance with, but this is somebody that you need to be able to build coalition with as far as like caring about your street, caring about like your neighborhood, caring about one another's kids. And I say this as a single millennial who has no children. We have designed this whole very anti-kid narrative that means that like everything that's going on in our school systems, we have no play in because like we don't have kids, so why would we
Uh-huh.
care?
Right.
And then it's like because you need to care because this is a society. And I think that there's been a lot of that I've been really kind of like trying and figuring out my pathways as to like what's the best use of my experiences and my energies, knowing I can't do all of it, but the things that I can do, I want to do really, really well. And so that's the thing that I've been kind of doing as fascism rages. And
Yeah. Yes.
yeah.
And I think that is the thing. Like
Mhm.
that on a very base level is the thing. And I'm seeing more and more people connecting with that idea. And I don't want to say waking up, but again, we have had enough things, right? I keep on holding up my phone if you're listening,
Mhm.
because I sometimes I forget that this is a audio, mostly an audio media. Uh, yeah, I love that. I love that. I love just being intentional about how you are living and
Yeah.
what is required and making effort in that vein and also understanding your personal responsibility of I don't want to keep avoiding conversation. I am one of those people who gets upset very easily at injustice. I also have ADHD, like it's part of the characteristic build. And so learning how to regulate myself when those situations come up so that I'm not just walking away furious. I can
Mhm.
actually engage and see where we can find points of connection. And again, not when we're denying anybody's humanity,
Right. Yes.
not when, like I think you and I probably understand this part, and sometimes we have to be explicit about it, which is like we're not debating. There's certain things that are not up for debate. Sorry, but they're just
Yeah, I
not.
actually think it is the debate culture that has contributed to so much of
I
this.
hate debate.
Uh, it,
like, like I can't, from a public speaking standpoint, I think it is a part of the reason and the problem why we're here. It's this idea of
it's related to gotcha journalism. It's related to, like, there's a lot of things that it's so deeply tied to as somebody who's like a compulsive media consumer. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm like a VH1 reality TV historian over here. Like, it's a lot of useless information that my brain is all connected together. But there's just such a shaping of what entertainment is.
Mhm.
And and what it's supposed to do in the wake of like the rest of it. I think it was John Green that said boredom stopped in like 2011, and I think that he might be right. And I think we maybe all need to get more bored in order to get more creative.
My best stuff has come out of boredom.
Absolutely, because I refuse to be it. It's so physically uncomfortable.
It's so uncomfortable and more uncomfortable the less you have to be bored, right? You can easily, yeah, you can there's at the very least you can always pick up your phone. But just back to that debate thing because I think that's really interesting and I won't harp on it, but this book, I don't know if you've read this book.
I haven't, no.
It's so great. Women in Power. But debate comes from literal entertainment from the forums back in the day of early Greco-Roman culture, right? The
Yes.
idea of oration, the idea of using words as a game, as entertainment. Not only were certain voices very specifically excluded from the forums, so did not have the opportunity to develop, as you know, your ancestors perhaps actually were quite good at this, right? Your charmers, but it is a game of trickery. It's not debate was never meant to find consensus about things.
Yeah, it's not
Debate
supposed to
was
shape policy, but now
yes.
it does.
Well, because it's huge in the Ivy League schools, like all the people who are coming up. But anyways, whatever.
We have a desperate need, and I would say this is very, like, I mean, I would say it's very human, but I know it to be very Western. We all really want to be just the smartest guy in the room all the
Mhm.
time, and the satisfaction of being the smartest person. And I think that maybe breaking up with that idea is also a good idea. Like,
Yes, it goes nowhere. It
being,
makes you feel good for 5 minutes.
yeah, I was once the smartest kid in seventh grade. Well, seventh grade English, third period.
Okay.
And it was like the one class. And I remember that high. It was the
Mm-mm.
best day. But
Mhm.
like, I can't live there.
No,
Like, that's not like where you're supposed to live. It's like vacation brain. You cannot do that.
because once you know what that's like, being embarrassed sucks even harder.
Oh, so much.
It's a harder fall,
Right.
right?
Because there's an edge of humiliation that you're
Mhm.
like kind of getting a high off of being the smartest in any, because you're humiliating somebody. That's part of it.
You are just hitting the nails on the head today. Okay, I know that I feel like I could talk to you for a really long time, and I want to be respectful um of your time, but I'm wondering, okay,
For those of you watching the video, this is Bathory.
hi
He just
sweetie
crawled across
pie.
my camera.
Hi. I wanted to talk to you about being a contributor to the toast, but I think maybe we better leave that for now because I miss the toast so much.
I do
Maybe we could
too.
just agree that we miss the toast because oh
Yeah.
my God, what
It
what
was
an
it was a
incredible
different internet, it was a different time,
it was. And
and
by the
I'm
way,
so glad I got to be there.
when I read that, I was like, this is legit amazing stuff. And we can thank the toast for so many of our sort of witchy memes, I guess, now that we really enjoy on the internet. But just as some final thoughts, your art explores the intersection of class, queerness, and the occult. In Western culture, we've noticed trending, right, towards the esoteric and people discovering or rediscovering. Most of us, or many of us, maybe not most of us, me and my friends in high school got really interested in a lot of cool stuff and then maybe didn't, and then perhaps are coming back to it or had it all along and then are picking it up because you're finding some real personal collective power and freedom that comes from having a spiritual practice that is not tied to a religion. Do you have any thoughts on that and what it could mean for the future of patriarchy? I just wanted to give you a real
Yeah,
low
well, no,
lob
I think
here.
it's good that you bring up the patriarchy component because that's what I was gonna say is I'm like, I'm not actually sure it's us breaking up with religion, I think it's us breaking up with narratives about our countries. I think it's breaking up with systems. I think a lot of this is about breaking up with capitalism,
Yeah. Yes.
and which is the ultimate religion of a lot of places, but particularly the place that I live. When we talk about this energetically and spiritually, and we talk about like hexing Donald Trump or any of these things, the reality is that he is protected by the dollar, and the dollar is the most sacred thing to this country, and what that influences, and what that kind of psychic protection can be, and how those talismans really kind of develop. Um, on the one hand, I love it because I'm like, good, yes, like whatever it is that teaches you to like question and interrogate the systems that have kind of told you that they were the best. And obviously, this is a very American experience, is that we hear constantly in all of our education that we are the best, we are the defenders of democracy, that we've invented democracy, nobody else invented it, it was just us, and that everything that we've done is empirical and good, and everything that we've done in other countries is also above reproach. It became very important to me in my own dismantling of my nationalistic identity that I don't need America to be those things. I don't need the propaganda to be real. Just believe that the American people deserve advocacy and protection and healthcare and food and housing. and that the land needs to be stewarded. I don't I don't need all that to believe in America and Americans. And that has been a very grounding element of my spiritual practice. What I'm concerned about now with a lot of the evolution of it is that our systems are bad. Looking at America kind of uncritically was safe, and now there's no way to do it like uncritically anymore. So
Mhm.
now we're going to be very fixated on these spiritual identities that are still kind of about being chosen and
Mm.
being kind of the
Mhm.
magical one and
Mm.
being special.
Mhm.
And
Right.
I think we need to add more specialness in our engagement with our communities. Like, there are no heroes. We're all just kind of trying to one off this into something. And so I think it makes a lot of logical sense. I'm very concerned about the intersection of religion and spirituality broadly with AI and ChatGPT for, I
Mm.
think, pretty obvious reasons.
Mhm.
But I also grew up in the Bible Belt when during one of the other raptures. So I've got a lot of exposure to how the evangelical churches work. Um, and so I encourage, anybody that is kind of in an interrogation space, like there are worse places to go than astrology, tarot, or witchcraft. But it is important to remember that all of these practices should be about grounding yourself in your humanity. And if anything is really kind of giving you permission to dissociate from the pain of being a human being, it wants something from you. As somebody who knows what a charlatan is like very
Yeah, right.
intimately.
Co-signed. Co-signed. In Mitch Horowitz's latest book, I don't know if you're familiar with Mitch Horowitz, but he talks about the Wheel of Fortune as, and ultimately the world as well. It is the entirety of the experience of being human, and you cannot deny um, humanity. And we don't necessarily know why we have suffering, but it is part of the human existence, and you cannot deny it.
Yeah. I mean, the death card, my conspiratorial relationship to the major arcana is that I do believe it's the soul's journey to enlightenment. I think we all kind of subscribe to that for the most part pretty broadly. But I do believe that the death card is death because the things that follow are really important, unattached elements of being a human and kind of
Hmm.
happen in more of a global and psychic sphere. And then it is about coming back to the world and regrounding with the human experience. Because I'm a low magic girl. I care about all of us on this rock.
Yeah.
I care
Yeah.
about all of us.
If you don't, take another look.
Yeah, that's really it.
Because you are also a human. I love it. Lauren, it's been such a pleasure to talk to you. And thank you so much for coming on and having this, kind of wide conversation about really big issues.
Yeah.
And I just really want to encourage everybody, speaking of speaking of capitalism, please go buy.
Thing you could do than support your local indie by buying Spells for Success.
100%. Also, listen, this makes an incredible gift. And so grab a couple and have them handy for birthdays and other holidays or just regular days when your bestie needs some support. But it is truly beautiful and full of wonderful things. And I highly recommend it. So yeah, thanks so much, Lauren. Deeply appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me. This has been great.
Yay! All right, this is the part where I close us out. So you can find all of the information and takeaways from today's episode in the show notes or at embracingenchantment.com. Subscribe and follow wherever you get your podcasts, and we'd love for you to leave a review. You can also leave a voice note at embracingenchantment.com. You can find out more about Lauren and where to follow them in the show notes, and make sure to get their wonderful book, as I just said, and I said it again because we have to tell people things 36 times now before it actually sticks. You're going to want to make sure you're subscribed because we have some exciting episodes coming up about witch stones and herb magic, as well as the monthly tarot readings. You can catch up on previous episodes where we talked with astrology with Colin Bedell, hereditary witch Amy Miranda, podcast host and author Pam Grossman, whose book is also coming out very soon. The drummer for I know, it's so good. The drummer for My Morning Jacket, Patrick Hallahan, and so much more. Until then, here's to building an enchanted life.